we want to convey to you that you have this non-physical contingency of interested parties in your well-being who are constantly, with forethought and foresight, acknowledging and therefore possibly influencing you to good moves and steps in the direction of what you're wanting. We want you to know that when you practice the vibrational vicinity of who you really are, that you have access to more of what you would call insight. If you're talking about the beasts of your planets, you call it instinct. But what it really is that all day, every day, for as long as you have been in this physical body, you've been sifting and sorting and defining what you want, and you've been sending these precise, specific rockets of desire into what we've been calling your vibrational vortex. We've been calling it a vortex, which is a vibrational holding place for all expansion that you've discovered along your way. And so the source within you, and we are including your inner being and those dearly departed who know of you, who are interested in what you are doing, this cadre of non-physical interest and love and attention that is focused upon you, knows who you are in terms of what you've become, what's in your vortex, and all the things that you lived in order to put it there, and most important, where you stand right now in any moment in vibrational proximity to it. In other words, in maybe easier to understand words, we know where you are in relationship to what you want. We know what you want and where you are in relationship to what you want. We know what the path of least resistance is to lead you from where you are to what you are wanting. And we are always aware of where you stand in relationship to it, and always giving you loving guidance in the form of influence or clues, sometimes so vivid that it just knocks us over that you miss it. Vivid, clear clues, path of least resistance guidance to help you to get from where you are to where you want to be on every subject that is important to you, all day, every day, no exception. And that's what we call the art of allowing. You preparing yourself vibrationally so that you don't miss the clues, because they're there all day. When you establish a vibrational pattern, usually by virtue of something that you've been observing, that vibrational pattern forms a point of attraction. Recently, we've been calling it your emotional grid. It's like the grid or the framework of a building that's going to fill in with more details. But it's an emotional, vibrational grid that is the framework. You walk around in it, it's your point of attraction. And then that grid fills in all day, every day, with things that match the grid, all kinds of manifestations. We want you to feel the power of this grid that is within you, and we want you to recognize that your emotions are always your indicator of what you've been doing, especially lately with your emotions. And your emotions are coming in response to what you've been thinking, what you've been giving your attention to. So the source within you is aware of who you are and what you want and where you are in relationship to it. But the source within you is only focused upon, and by source within you, it's such a broad label to define all of us, non-physical, interested parties in your well-being. You see, most of you don't get that. You haven't been focused upon all of this non-physical help that you have. Sometimes it takes someone croaking in order to get your attention. Sometimes somebody who's dear to you, who's important to you, has to reemerge into non-physical before you even start thinking about what they might be thinking about you. But it's our promise to you that once you turn your attention to this non-physical group, isn't a big enough word, of non-physical interest, and you start paying attention to the way you feel, and getting yourself as often as you can in vibrational vicinity so that you can hear the messages, so that you can read the clues. We're going to be talking today a lot about your grid filling in. Have you been hearing us? If you've been listening to us for a little while recently, we've been talking about the grid. Are you aware of it? Have you been listening to us for a while? Are you aware of the vortex? So the vortex is the vibrational, if you will, holding pattern, place is the wrong word, for the details of what you've been asking for. And you've been creating that vortex for a long time. And it stands as the potential manifestation for you. But most of it is still in vibrational form, ready to be manifested. It manifests when you are in a vibrational state that allows it to show itself to you in more than vibration. So think about it. Your vortex is giving you information all day, every day. The way you feel is your indication of your relationship with it. If you feel really good, you're in good vibrational proximity to your vortex. Now let's define your vortex. Your vortex is the vibrational equivalent of all that you have become. So it holds all of what you would call your wishes, your hopes, your dreams. We would call it your reality, your vibrational reality. Your vortex contains your inner being, the source within you. It is the expanded version of you. And as you stand in your physical beingness, in your happiest moments, you are in such alignment with that vortex that the vortex now begins moving into your experience. Now we've been saying, get into your vortex. Now we're saying to you, you are getting into your vortex, or your vortex is getting into you, but we would like you to form a sort of visual that your vortex is filled with all that you have become, all that you want, all that you have defined that you want. And as you find vibrational alignment with that, then you create a vibrational nucleus. You provide a vibrational environment. You cause yourself to be a vibrational grid that allows those details then to manifest in your experience. And the first manifestation is one of emotion. It's a feeling thing. It's that general thing that we are calling emotion. Emotion is about as general as it gets. Because in emotion, you're feeling, have you ever felt something so powerfully and you want so much to convey what you're feeling to another with clarity enough that they can hear it and understand it, but you just can't find the words, but you really know how you feel. You know so clearly how you feel. You just can't put it into words. Well, we don't want you to try so hard to put it into words. Just rest with the general feeling, because as you rest with that general feeling, more will fill in. Then words will begin to come. And then ideas will begin to come. And then rendezvous will begin to come. Everything that happens in your experience is a rendezvousing with something experience. We just want to point out to you in this art of allowing environment that if you will put more emphasis upon the one thing that you have control over, and that is your personal relationship with your vortex, and if you are consciously aware of the contents of the vortex, and you are consciously aware of the power of the grid, now you've got everything that you need to put it all together. Now, formerly, we've been telling you the same thing for a while, just not in that easy to understand format. We've been saying to you that there are 3 steps to the process. Step 1 is ask. And life just through its contrast causes you to ask. And when you ask, you put it in the vortex, 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 put it in the vortex. Step 2 is source answers. Well, in this context of what we just said to you today, this vortex is this becoming place, environment of all that you've asked for. The source within you literally becomes the vibrational equivalent of what you've been asking for. The book that we wrote a few years ago said, ask and it is given. Today we say, ask and the vortex becomes it. Ask and the vortex becomes what you've asked for. Now the next step, and the question that the Ask book erupted within so many of you is, all right, so I've asked and you say you have given, but where is it? I will sort of kind of accept, Abraham, because you seem credible in some ways, that when I have asked, it has been given, but if it has been given, where is it? And please don't tell me it's in the vortex. It's in the vortex. It's in the vortex, but the question is, how do you get it out of the vortex and into your experience? So we've been saying step 3 is, you got to get in the vortex. Step 3 is, you have to allow it, but we're giving you a clear way of defining that. Now we're saying to you, and you can hear this, can't you? That you have a vibrational grid going on all the time. You have this grid going on. In fact, you've got a grid about money. You've got a grid about lovers. You've got a grid about employers. You've got a grid about employees. You've got a grid about people in traffic. You have opinions that have caused you to form grids about just about everything in the world. And your grids in any moment in time are stacking up and equaling your point of attraction. So you're walking around with, we love you very much. You know what's coming after that, don't you? You're walking around with sloppy grids. You're walking around with a grid that has been inspired by that experience and a grid that has been inspired by that experience. So you've got all of these reactionary grids going on that are then affecting your relationship with your vortex. And so we want you to stop reacting so much to what's going on. You may have, if you've been listening to us for a while, and some of you have, you may remember us saying to you that most people offer most of their vibration in response to what they're observing. So you're out there observing stuff and creating a grid. And your human, logical mind wants to say, well, Abraham, there are all of these truths that I am aware of. And isn't it prudent for me to observe and sift through and focus upon these truths? And we say, but can you hear the backward nature of that? What you're actually saying is, Abraham, there's stuff that people have got going on with their grids that is manifesting in a way that I can see it. So since they created it and their grid filled in with it, shouldn't I observe it? And we say, yes, if you want your grid to fill in with it. If you like what you see, give it your undivided attention. If you don't want it, turn the other cheek. If you don't want it, give your attention to something else. If you don't want it, create your own grid. And so most humans, it's sort of a cry that's coming from humanity these days. Abraham, we hear you. Abraham, Abraham, we hear you saying, Abraham, I don't get this. How in the world can I offer a vibration apart from what I am observing? And we say, go general. Go general. That's what meditation does for you. That's what petting your cat does for you. That's what caring about how you feel does for you. In other words, you just have to decide that you're going to connect with that basic core grid of well-being. And when you do, have you heard us say, surely you have, because we say it all the time, that one who's in alignment with who you are is more powerful than millions who are not. One who's connected to the stream is more powerful than millions who are not. One who's in the vortex is more powerful, more attractively powerful than millions who are not. In other words, you just have to experience the leverage of alignment. So today we're explaining to you that the reason that power, that clarity, that point of attraction comes on so strong and so clearly is that when you line up with that core grid, when you line up with the well-being that you were born with, when you line up with the vortex version of you, when you line up with the energy of the source within you and all that you've been asking for, when you line up with that, heaven and earth and all things in between begin moving in the direction of that which you are. In other words, your grid starts filling in. And people that don't understand vibration, people that don't understand attention and focus, people who don't understand that you've been doing vortex work and grid work, people who are watching from the outside would call you the lucky one. How come you always get that parking place right in front of the door? Why do people always treat you so well? Why do things always go so well for you? Why do you barely define that you want something and things start moving? Why do the good ideas come to you? Why do the great song lyrics come to you? Why do the great paintings flow through your fingertips? Why do the scientific equations occur to you and not to that one and that one who works far longer and far harder and stays up all night more often? How come you seem lazy to me, they'll say. You don't seem like you're working that hard. You don't seem like you're suffering at all. You don't seem like you're paying the price. You don't seem like you have earned it. You do not feel to me as if you deserve it, and yet all good things come to you. Why is that, they want to know. But your answer will fall on deaf ears, because you cannot give them the answer they seek, because they still believe that it's hard work and struggle. They still believe that it's paying a price. They do not understand that it's about alignment with the core goodness that you were born with, that will always be there for you, you see. And that's what we wish for you. When we talk about the art of allowing, we're talking about you finally figuring out a way to get your attention off of the things that are troubling and on the things that aren't. And in the beginning, that means there's going to be a lot of quiet time.